Hello and welcome to Elderly Care, the place where every senior heart is heard, valued, and supported. I'm Dr. Winston, a geriatric specialist with over 30 years of experience working closely with older adults, not only in hospitals and clinics, but also in community homes and family settings, where true stories unfold and silent struggles often hide behind gentle smiles. Here on this channel, I'm honored to walk beside you through the tender and complex emotions of aging, to offer not just medical knowledge, but heartfelt understanding and guidance shaped by decades of listening, learning, and caring. If you find comfort or clarity in what we share here, I warmly invite you to like this video, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to Elderly Care so you won't miss more thoughtful conversations about health, emotional well-being, and the everyday realities of growing older. Today's video touches on something deeply personal, that quiet pain many seniors feel when their children become too busy and life seems to grow a little lonelier. If this resonates with you or someone you love, you are in the right place. Let's walk through this together. It often begins so subtly that you hardly notice it at first. A missed phone call, a promise to visit that's quietly forgotten. A text message that reads, "Sorry, Mum, been so busy lately, I'll call soon." But the call never comes. At 70 or even beyond, you don't need much, you don't ask for much. A warm voice, a gentle check-in, a sign that you're still important in the lives you helped shape. But instead, you find yourself waiting in silence, with only the ticking clock and your memories for company. Eleanor had always been the glue that held her family together. A retired teacher with a soft voice and an even softer heart, she raised 3 children, mostly on her own, after her husband passed unexpectedly in his early 50s. She taught them right from wrong, made every birthday feel magical, and gave up her own dreams to pay for college tuition and first apartments. In her mind, she had done what every mother was supposed to do: love selflessly and give everything. Now at 74, Eleanor wakes up in the same modest home her children grew up in, the walls lined with their childhood photos. She often sits in her favorite chair by the window, the same chair she once used for story time, clutching a well-worn cardigan, staring out at the empty street. Her children, all grown, all so busy. Daniel, the oldest, is a lawyer in another state. "Mum, the firm's expanding, you understand," he says. Laura, the middle child, works in healthcare and juggles 3 kids of her own. The youngest, Michael, is pursuing his dream of living abroad. They love her, she knows that. But life seems to have swept them up and away. And that's when it begins to creep in. That quiet pain. It's not loud. It doesn't scream like heartbreak. It doesn't burn like anger. It settles in your chest like a fog. The quiet pain of being forgotten, or at least feeling that way, of being left behind in a world that's moving too fast to remember who first taught it how to walk. If you felt this, you're not alone. In fact, research suggests that up to 40% of older adults report feeling lonely on a regular basis, especially those who live independently and whose children are preoccupied with careers, parenting, and their own aging journey. But here's the truth that often goes unspoken. The pain you feel is valid. It is real. And yet, there is hope. There are ways to cope with it, not just survive it, but grow through it, even heal. Let me share with you what Eleanor learned. Not from a self-help book, not from a therapist's office, though both can be wonderful, but from lived experience, reflection, and a handful of gentle truths that many seniors discover when the silence gets too loud. First, she learned to name her pain. It's astonishing how powerful this simple step can be. Eleanor realized one morning, over lukewarm coffee and a soft rain tapping against the kitchen window, that her heart wasn't just heavy, it was grieving. Not the loss of a person, but the loss of presence. The gradual drifting away of the people she once held so close. Once she allowed herself to feel this fully, without guilt or the need to explain it away, something began to shift. It wasn't about blaming her children. It was about giving herself permission to feel. You deserve that too. Your pain doesn't need comparison or justification. It just needs space to breathe. Next, Eleanor reached for something she hadn't in a while, her own voice. She started writing letters, not to be mailed necessarily, but to be expressed. She wrote to her children, pouring out her feelings with honesty and love, not accusations, just gentle truths. I miss you, she wrote to Daniel, not just your phone calls. I miss being part of your life. She didn't expect a miracle, but she did receive something she didn't anticipate: understanding. Daniel called. He didn't realize how deeply his absence had been felt. They talked, and for the first time in years, really heard each other. Sometimes our children are not intentionally neglecting us. They are simply overwhelmed, distracted, buried in obligations. They forget that while their lives are full of movement, ours have grown quieter, and sometimes they just need reminding, not through guilt, but through truth, shared with grace. But Eleanor didn't stop there. She began to rebuild her sense of belonging, not from the outside, but from within. She joined a local community group, a circle of women her age who met weekly to share stories, hobbies, even recipes. At first, she felt out of place. I'm too old to start new friendships, she told herself. But she went anyway, and soon, laughter returned to her afternoons. Conversations filled the spaces where silence used to linger. These women, each carrying their own stories of distance, widowhood, or fractured family ties, became a new kind of family, one chosen, not inherited. If you're feeling that same ache of being left behind, consider this. Connection doesn't have to come only from blood. It can come from shared gardens, poetry clubs, book circles, or just a neighbor who also likes to sit on the porch at 5 p.m. The key is opening the door, metaphorically or literally, to new moments of presence. Eleanor also discovered the healing power of purpose. At some point, she began volunteering at a nearby library. She shelved books, read to children on Saturdays, and mentored young teens in reading programs. Her presence was appreciated, even needed. The eyes that once looked at her with childhood dependence now looked at her with gratitude and curiosity. You remind me of my grandma, one child whispered. Eleanor smiled. She wasn't invisible anymore. She was seen. And not because she was someone's mother, but because she was herself. As we age, we are often told to step aside, to retire, to rest. And rest is important, yes, but purpose doesn't retire. Your wisdom, your stories, your hands, they are still needed in communities, in schools, in shelters, even in online forums where you can mentor younger generations. When you offer something of yourself, the world offers something back. Acknowledgement, connection, sometimes even joy. Still, the hardest part for Eleanor, and maybe for many of us, was accepting what she could not change. Her children would never again be the little ones who ran to her arms after a bad dream. They wouldn't need her in the same way. And while they loved her, their priorities were different now. This wasn't betrayal. It was life. Eleanor didn't stop loving them, but she stopped waiting for their attention like a sunrise that never came. Instead, she began to build her days around things she could control. A morning walk, a midday call with a friend, an afternoon nap with a soft blanket and an old book. Her life became hers again. This kind of acceptance doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow turning, like the seasons. But when it comes, it brings peace. And in that peace, the pain loses its sharpness. It becomes something else, a quiet understanding, a soft compassion for the journey all families must take. And lastly, Eleanor dared to imagine joy again. Not the joy of reunions or celebrations, though those are lovely when they come, but the daily kind. The joy of watching birds nest outside her window, the joy of music, soft jazz floating through her kitchen, the joy of a perfectly steeped cup of tea. When you allow yourself to notice these things, to be present with them, life begins to expand again. Not backward into the past, but forward into a present that is yours to shape. If you are over 70 and you've felt the sting of being forgotten, know this: your value has not diminished. Your life is not on pause, waiting for others to notice. You are still writing your story, and it can be rich, full, and meaningful even now. Perhaps your children are busy. Perhaps their calls are rare and their visits rarer. That hurts. But you are not powerless in the face of that pain. You have the strength, forged through decades of living, to find new ways to feel connected, new paths to purpose, and new rhythms of joy. Let Eleanor's story remind you, it is never too late to reclaim your own time, your own presence, your own peace. Speak your truth with gentleness. Reach for community without shame. Offer your gifts and accept what is with grace. You may be surprised to find that in doing so, your world becomes more vibrant than you imagined. Because the quiet pain of being left behind, it can be softened. It can be transformed. Not by changing others, but by returning to yourself with tenderness, courage, and hope. And that hope, dear reader, is yours to hold. Thank you for spending this quiet moment with me. If Eleanor's story touched your heart, I hope it reminded you that healing and joy are still possible at any age, in any season of life. Don't forget to subscribe to Elderly Care so you won't miss our next video, where we'll explore how to rebuild confidence after 70 and find meaning in each new morning. Until then, take care of yourself gently. You are never alone here.